What's going on, everybody? We are back, episode 4 of Cat 4 Questions. This one based around the Johnson City Omnium. If we have enough time, let's see how long this goes for. I will add a couple bonus questions asked on Instagram at Evoke Bike. Also, there's another Omnium going on in Buffalo, New York. There's a great question about the time trial, and we might just throw that one in here. So, here's the question. So, in this Johnson City race, I'd really like to do my best, and I think in the road race. I know you said it would most likely be mainly a group ride until the main climb. We'll discuss it. That was one scenario I said. Then possibly the strongest guys make a break. If possible, and if I can even see those guys at that point, I want to bring that back and try my best not to let anyone get up the road, correct? I have zero expectations, but I really think one of two things will happen. I'll not even be remotely close to that group that makes the break, or the lack of overall talent that allows me to be in the mix to start with, and I have hope for a while. Improbable scenario, but hey, plans need to be made. What if I feel decent and I'm close to the front? Do I make a break close to the peak of the main climb if my legs allow it? I know you may be laughing right now at these questions, but I gotta ask. In all likelihood, none of these questions apply, but hey, otherwise, I assume I sit in, work only occasionally, and try to stay with the front. So there is a lot going on in that. So it's really like not Cat 4 questions. It's just a big bike race scenario, right? And here's the thing. We talked about in maybe the first episode or the second one, it's really hard to plan a bike race. And just like he said, it's great to have a plan, but you have to be nimble. The race is going to unfold as the race unfolds. Here's a few scenarios how Cat 4 races generally go. I've watched criteriums where it's a group ride and then people sprint at the end. Or there's the classic, we're going to chase everyone down and then sprint at the end. Like there's really no rhyme or reason why they chase everyone down, but they're like, we're determined that a break does not get up the road. In a road race, Cat 4-5 is a lot of time a fitness contest. Now, the tricky part is where do you determine where the fitness contest is going to happen? Johnson City Omnium, for those not familiar with it, it's some rolling hills and a couple steep portions where if you're sitting at the back and sleeping, you can definitely get dropped if people hammer it towards the top of a couple minute section. So you need to be aware of what's going on. And then there's a super long climb at the end. And you're racing for about an hour and 45 minutes, an hour and 50 minutes. The other issue is that, you're going to sometimes have freak athletes where they ride away in the beginning and they're just stronger. They're on their way to Cat 2 in a couple months. Even if you stuck on their wheel and you're a Cat 4 in ability, it's going to be hard to stay with them. The thing that would detriment someone from doing that now is that I think 40 or 50 Cat 4s in 90-degree heat would maybe they wouldn't catch them, but the heat plays a difference too. So you got to understand, if you're out there working all day, even though it's an hour and 45 minutes, if you're at FTP and trading pulls with somebody and then you slowly start to go down a sweet spot in tempo, which is natural, if you're out there that long, you're obviously not able to do FTP for 2 hours. It's going to wear on you and you're going to crack. So let's break this down. At the one point when he says, if I can even see the guys at that point, I want to bring that back and try my best not to let anyone get up the road, correct? On this course, I really don't think you want people up the road if you're racing by yourself, because you don't want to bring people back. Never chase the break. You either bridge to the break or you wait until other people do the work and bring it back for you. Now, granted, you might be helping at some point to pull a break back, but in a Cat 4 race, it just, that dynamic doesn't exist. What's going to happen is maybe a break goes, and then a couple people who were sleeping or didn't know are strong enough to be like, oh, we got to pull that back, and you let them do the work, and then you either jump across the gap to the break, or you missed it. Like, sometimes you miss the break. That's on you. A tangent, you hear people say, and I've said it before, people are like, oh, I'll say, well, what happened in the race? Like, oh, I got boxed in. No, you box yourself in. If you're ever in a race and you aren't able to launch, you can't respond to moves, that's your own bad. Don't put yourself in that position. Do I make a break close to the peak of the main climb if my legs allow? Hell yes. There are going to be times where when you go to a Cat 4 race, you don't know where everyone stacks up. So you might be wondering, like, why aren't people going harder right now? Just they don't have it in the tank. And if you can go and you feel like you can get to the finish line, make a break for it. Like, believe in yourself. And that's also bike racing. You got to roll the dice at sometimes. And sometimes you're going to go for it and someone's going to get on your wheel and you're like, oh crap, maybe that was a bad move. But all of these times that you try and you learn and you figure out what you're good at, what you're bad at, that's just how you get better at bike racing. Don't be scared out there. Don't be scared to try, and then maybe you eventually get fifth instead of first. But trying and getting fifth will get you more firsts than never trying. So just try. You're trying to figure out like all the, it's not the algorithms, but like all the possibilities that can really happen. Some situations repeat themselves, but you're really constantly thinking like, okay, you're calculating and this has happened before or a similar situation. How did that go down? That's the amazing thing about bike racing. And you know, he says, I know you may be laughing right now at these questions, but I got to ask. That's really how I won one of my first Cat 5 races. Was no one was hammering on the last climb. And I was like, I think I'm just going to take off. And I got pipped on the line. I took off with another guy, and he could just sprint better than me and just roasted me. But I got second, and I couldn't believe it. Like, I was so new to bike racing, and I was on the podium in an eBay jersey from South America that I got yelled at for wearing. They're like, you can't wear that. That's not your sponsor. And I had cargo shorts on, and I have the picture. And, I mean, I was shocked. Like, I was so stoked. So don't overthink it. Like, if it feels right, go with it. And there's that little thing in your mind. There's a guy on your shoulder that's like, go now. Do not question him or her or whatever it is. When you have that feeling, go. And if it doesn't work out, remember that. But if you start to be like, well, if I go now, then this might happen. Just go. That's what in the Tonga first road race, something was like, Owen's going, go now. And like, you're just committed. Otherwise, I assume I sit in, work only occasionally, and try to stay with the front. That's right. So don't let people go up the road, I don't think. There's just too many. If five guys go up the road, now it's like, well, who's going to chase? There's just not enough unity within the pack in a Cat 4 race most times to chase someone down. So those five guys are going to get 2 to 3 minutes on you, maybe more. And that's just a head start on the final climb. If you're a crazy climber, you're like, screw it, I can give another Cat 4 6 minutes on this climb and I'm still going to catch him. Okay, then let him go. But that's not most people. Most riders are all-arounders. It's hard to really call yourself a climber if you're a Cat 4. You might just be light. And if you are that super light dude, like, you can still roll in the brake and just not work a ton and be like, dude, I'm 100 pounds. I'll try my best. And then when you hit the climb, you just roast people then. You got to really start looking at people and trying to get a sense of who they are and who you're riding with. If a guy doesn't look super fit and he goes off the front, you definitely don't have to worry about him, right? Like, you would be assessing, that guy's 200 pounds and doesn't look that good on the bike and he's not really going that fast. Just let it go. And then the other question was, so this is the last one. This guy's coming from triathlon. He's like, I looked at the time trial. I think it's only about 3.5 miles. Do we do that more than once? Am I bringing my TT bike, or am I going to show up and look like an idiot from a triathlon? You're definitely bringing your TT bike. So this is more like a prologue. It's super annoying because you have to drag another bike. I like time trials a lot. I just wish we did them all on road bikes. It would just be way easier. It's fun going super fast on a TT bike. I'm not super into it, so it just makes it more of a pain in the butt. But okay, we got a couple other minutes. What is the to-go race day breakfast for crits and Gran Fondo? So I actually eat very similarly. And I should have been clear on Instagram because I had made the comment that I had rice. So rice and honey and maybe some peanut butter is a go-to. I'll go to the Walmart. So if you're in the middle of nowhere, you're not going to maybe have the best options. You might be looking at like Walmart, Ruby Tuesdays, Mexican place, any podunk restaurant, I guess I should say. We probably don't want to eat there the day before a race because it just doesn't look the best. I get the rice that is microwavable and throw in the microwave, put the honey on top, some salt, and maybe some peanut butter. Now, in Instagram, I said I want sugary cereal right now. I shouldn't say that because you don't want to be plowing bowls of cereal. It's not the best carb source. The reason I said in there was my roommate, Jack, was sleeping. I didn't want to use the microwave to make oatmeal, which I prefer. Do some oatmeal, maybe some syrup, or I bring honey, so I might just throw some honey on that. So really the breakfast, though, is carbs. I had an athlete that almost threw up. I think he did throw up at the road race. And I asked him, what'd you have for breakfast? He said, eggs and a waffle. I'm okay with the waffle. I would maybe eat a bagel, some bread, whatever. I'm like, how soon before the race did you eat that? He said, an hour and a half. Eating eggs an hour and a half before a road race that's short, that's going to start out just banging hard, it's not a good idea. You want to be optimally stopping the solid foods 3 hours before you're going to get on the bike. So that means eating your breakfast and then having some like sports drink or maltodextrin in a bottle and just have carbs. I mean, that's what you're going to be using to fuel a really hard effort. Now, crits, I'm definitely stopping 3 hours before, and I just eat normally. Don't really have to carb up for a crit. I lean my diet towards carbs, but you don't have to go crazy. I think it's important to have, though, like, if you're really getting into it, like 8 grams per kilogram of body weight of carbs, which is technically the low end of carb loading. You don't have to go nuts, but you can get up there pretty quickly. How do you warm up for a crit? And how do you get a good start place? So I'm going to actually, I just haven't done the video for the Tonga crit the first time, which is basically a clinic on how not to corner. I just could not get in the groove on this last corner. So we're going to watch me do way too many watts each time and waste a ton of energy. But I got in a couple moves that were okay, and I don't know, we'll see how the camera work came out. My warm-up for anything is the same, whether I'm going to go out and do intervals or if I'm going to go do a crit. Get on the bike, 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes of zone 2, so 75% FTP, 50 to 75, like just get going. I do about 5 minutes of tempo around 90% FTP. If my legs aren't feeling great, I just back it down a little bit. Like, you're not trying to do a workout, right? But you want to be warmed up. I truly believe you want to be warmed up for anything. 4 minutes, just chill. 5 minutes, about 93%, chill. And then I just do a couple like openers, like 30-second, not max efforts, but like VO2 max or harder. And really, you don't have to, if you're doing a crit that's huge, getting a starting position is very important. You can finish that 30 minutes before you have to go to the start, and you're still going to be warmed up. There's a study out there. I actually haven't seen it, but who's the dude from Smart Stop with the earrings? I'm blanking on his name. But he was like, always laugh that people would be warming up like to the second before the race starts. For a time trial, if you're doing those sprint openers, you definitely want 10 minutes before you take off. Otherwise, you're going to be fatigued. So it's kind of like taking recovery before max efforts when you're on the road now. It's really like 8 to 10 minutes off before you hit the next one. So hopefully that helps. We're at 15 minutes. We're going to cut this. The last thing, OMNIUM. Remember that a time trial is fastest average speed. So if you're doing 2 days of Buffalo, the time trial is like this, around, there's a couple 180-degree turns. It's really crazy. And a guy said, hey, what's my average wattage I should target? I'm like, there is not one, because you're going to be on the gas, getting up to speed, doing a U-turn, on the gas, getting back up to speed, banging that left-hand corner where you might not have to, you're not going to be fully stopping, but you're going to be coasting for a little bit. Get back up to speed. It's all average speed. So it's going to be one of your like low rest VO2 max workouts where it's like 4 minutes and then resting in high endurance, and then 4 minutes on, and then resting in high endurance, going harder. So you're not trying to max out your VO2 max, you're just working on your ability to go over and over again really hard for not like a Tabata 30-second interval, but for a longer duration, 3-4 minutes. So just remember, it's staying up to speed. It's not, don't stare at a power meter like, oh, my FTP is 300, I'm just going to roll this at 300. You're going to have a bad time. You got to go hard. So same question to you now. If you're doing the Johnson City Omnium and it's 3.5 miles, that's not super long. You need to understand the course, and I'll let you do your research on that. Where are you going hard and where are you go just trying to be aero? Maybe what's your gearing? Are you going to spin out the gear anywhere? You got to look ahead and make sure you have the bike dialed for that. So, okay, guys, good luck. Be safe. Crush it. I will not be there this year, but I wish you all the best of luck. I'm excited to see who wins. Hopefully I can do that race. I've been in Tennessee for 4 years, and there's always been a commitment, and I don't know why. I'm not a climber. I just want to climb that damn climb. It looks super fun. Be safe, and let us know how you did. See ya.